Using Google's spreadsheet program, I've made a little spreadsheet that has city name, baseball, basketball, and hockey teams.
This video is brought to you by Oppie Pies Academy.
So for New York, we've got the Yankees, Knicks, and Rangers. We've got Los Angeles Dodgers, Lakers, and Kings, San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors, and the Sharks. I had to cheat a little bit because they're in San Jose, but it works. Now, I saved this as a comma-separated values file. And the comma-separated values file is right here. It's sports.csv. And basically, if we looked at the actual file, we'd see this. So let's go ahead and move to the desktop, and then the Python folder. And then I'm going to use VI, and we can look at sports.csv. So this is how the file's actually stored. We have commas between each of the fields, and then new line characters, which you can't see at the end of each line. So we can keep columns of data in this type of format, comma separated value, CSV. Okay, so now that we've seen that, we actually can work with this type of data using Python. So let's go ahead and I'll open idle. And what we're going to do is create ourselves a program that'll actually read in this CSV data. So I'll keep the CSV data over here on the left, and we'll write our program over here. So in order to do this, I need to import a library. We're going to import the CSV library, and that's made to specially deal with these CSV files like I just showed you. Now, we've been working with files for a little bit now, so you probably know that next we need to create a file pointer. So we'll point to a variable called sports. We'll use open, and then we're going to open the file is called sports.csv. There it is right there. So let's open that guy up, or open a pointer to that guy. And we're going to open this just for reading at this point. Okay, so now we're going to use a try finally clause in our code. Now, this is a good idea when you're working with files because the external files may have problems with them in that they may not read in as a CSV or the file may be corrupt. There's lots of problems and you want your program to be able to exit gracefully. So here, we're going to create a reader object, and we're going to get that from csv.reader. And the argument that it's going to get is our file pointer. So there's kind of a process here, right? We created our file pointer with open and opening the file sports.csv for reading. We assign that to sports. Then we tried to get a CSV reader object and take sports and assign that to the reader object. So now we can loop through each of the rows in our file, and we can deal with each row as we get to it. So if we were going to really process the data, this would be the best way to do it. So I'm going to use a for loop here, and I'm going to use a for in loop. So I'm going to say for each row in reader. And what that's going to do is it's going to loop through and it's going to access each row, and then it's going to run the code that's indented on the line I'm typing now. So for each row, it's going to simply put the row in the row variable and then print it. And then we can go back out to our finally clause, which will run after we try, and we're going to try and close our file pointer, sports.close. Always close your file pointer. So this is how this is going to work, right? We create our file pointer. We try to, with CSV reader, take that file pointer and put that into reader and then loop through. So every row gets assigned to the variable row. First row is line 1, that gets printed. Then it's line 2, and that gets printed. Then it's line 3, and that gets printed, line 4, etc. When we've printed all the rows and we reach the end of file, we're going to run sports.close, which will close the file. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's call this file csv.py. And let's bring up a command line window. And let's run this. Perfect. All right, and we called it file CSV, so using the Python interpreter. There we go. So here you can see that each row comes out, and you know what these brackets mean, that each row comes out as specifically a list. So we're dealing with here in the row a list object separated by the commas. So we have a city, baseball, basketball, hockey, New York, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers, etc. So if we want to improve this a little bit, generally we don't want to output a raw list to our users. We can actually work with that list and loop through that. So let's go back to our program here. Instead of printing out each row, let's go ahead and loop through the row. So let's say for item in row, again using that for in, print item. So now what we're going to do is, if we're on the first line, right, we're in this row, then we're going to print A1, which is city, B1, baseball, basketball, hockey. Then we'll go to the next row. Item is New York, item is Yankees, item is Knicks, etc. So we're looping through each list and printing the items. So after we go through that, then let's print a new line character. So for each item, we'll print the item, and then when we finish the loop, we'll print a new line, and then we'll go on to the next row. All right, so let's go ahead and save this and see if we get a more pleasing result this time. And there you go. So here you can see we've got New York Yankees, Knicks, Rangers, and we've got a much more pleasing appearance because we've been able to separate out the items from the list. Now, if we had been doing some more complex data processing instead of just printing it out, we would be able to do the same kind of pattern that you see here. Let's review it one more time. Our file pointer points to sports. We're opening a file called sports.csv. In the try block, we're creating a csv.reader file that's reading our file pointer. We're looping through each row, right? We're looping through each row in the reader. So that's these rows right here. And then for each item, because first we're on row 1, we're going to loop through the individual items. So item, item, item. Then we'll go to the next row, item, item, item. So we're going to loop through each item in the row and print those items. So we get here at the beginning, city, baseball, basketball, hockey. New row, we print a new line, New York, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers. So with CSVs, we can actually work with much more complex data in the Python programming language.